GM, we're back. Who'd have thought I'd be back again so soon? They've been putting out some banger update posts. Very, very interesting. I'm really, really hyped about this update. I'm really, really excited. They have given more detail on the new Inferno level difficulty boss encounter thing, similar to Colosseum, Mocha. So I've been really, really hyped about this, and the rewards look really, really interesting. So let's just get right into it. So they give some details on how it works. First of all, just like Toa, we're getting a new quest that's going to unlock it. It's going to unlock, kind of like the Curious, it's going to unlock a new weapon. So they're saying this is similar to D-Skim as a melee weapon. You know, decent slash, decent stab. It's got slightly worse strength than a D-Skim. Got 1 prayer bonus, 4 tick attack speed. But then it has a spec that if the hit is successful, the target is guaranteed to have the burn effect applied. So it applies 1 stack of burn, 50% spec, performs a single attack that has 50% increased accuracy and deals 50% increased damage. So like a decent like mid-level spec option until you get things like Burning Claws unlocked. Pretty decent. This will probably have some okay application. DDS might still be beating it in some cases. It's probably going to depend on what you're killing, if it has high defense or not. So this is kind of an interesting addition. I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, getting to what we care about. The Doom of Mocha, however you pronounce this. We're going to call it Mocha for sure. You've mastered the Colosseum. You've pacified Huey. Come on, man. You put Huey. Okay. Now the time has come to face another terrifying boss monster. Okay, sick. I like that. We have demonic creatures that live deep below the rainforest, tunneling through long abandoned ruins. I'm not even going to try with that. So this is something I've been begging for forever. If you ever watch my videos, you've heard me talk about Telos. You've heard me talk about Archglacior from RS3 and wanting that loot system here. They're bringing it. They are bringing that loot system. So basically, a never-ending boss encounter that you can leave at any time, but the loot is going to keep increasing the longer you stay. That's the idea. So this sounds really, really interesting. When the boss is defeated, it will descend further into its burrow. Chasing after it into the deeper levels increases the chance to receive unique drops, with some unique drops only appearing at more dangerous levels. So you're thinking Colosseum waves, you can only see those really good drops until late waves, maybe some worse drops at earlier waves, that kind of thing. But late waves, you're going to start seeing better loot. You must make your progress in a single run, as returning to the surface will reset you back to Delve level 1. It's worth noting that while the change to snag unique rewards increases as you progress, the quantities of basic level loot do not. Thank you. Thank you. The amount of times I've joked about the terrible loot systems from RS3, I've shown Archglacior drop tables where people in the loot have 20 onyxes, literally 80,000 water talismans, you know, that kind of thing, 5,000 crystal keys. They've had a real issue with this, with the common loot increasing with kill streaks. So I'm really glad that they are focusing purely on the rare drops being increased and nothing else. That's the perfect way to do it, in my opinion. I really like to see that. You can keep repeating the hardest difficulty for as long as you can survive, but if you die, you'll lose everything. So the idea is with Colosseum, you're seeing what you're getting. You're choosing to continue regardless for increased loot, or chickening out, leaving, taking what you've got. It's kind of risk-reward system at its refined state. The Doom of Mocha is an endgame boss. It is aimed at players at or above combat level 120 who have or are close to getting their Infernal Cape. This is no joke. This is serious business. This is tough as nails, and you're doing this. It's going to be freaking difficult. It's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. And they describe the ways it's going to get harder. Deeper levels increase the difficulty of the fight in several ways. I really, really like to see what they're saying here. This is really good to see. Increased boss attack rate, smaller reaction times, lingering arena state from previous levels. This makes me think of Reentry in Colosseum. Reentry was almost really cool in Colosseum. I think it just didn't work there. This looks like a thing that would work better for this kind of thing. I'm hoping we see something cool with that. But additional mechanics is good to see. Environment changes after level 5, resulting in extra damaging effects, which can be avoided. And additional fight mechanics and special attacks. So lots of additional mechanics. What I really, really like to see here is absolutely zero mention of a stat increase. No max hit increase. No defense increase. No HP increase. You remember Toa? You remember how people didn't really like that? Well, I'm seeing no mention of that. No mention at all. Now, they might still be doing that. It's really promising to me that they haven't mentioned it whatsoever anywhere in the entire blog. It's purely skill expression, less, you know, the boss is one-shotting you, or the boss has a lot of defense and it takes a long time to kill. This is really good. This is really promising to me. I like to see that. Getting right into the rewards are very good. Very, very good. Should you emerge victorious, you could receive one of the following rewards. Should they pass the poll, each unique will be available from predetermined delve levels. Okay, first thing first, Avernic Catalyst and Avernic Treads. These are Giga boots. These are Giga Tribrid boots. They went all out with these. This is probably the best drop here. It's a consumable item that can be used together with prims, pegs, and eternal boots to create Avernic Treads. 3 recolors to make sure your new shoes fit your fashionscape. That's kind of cool, coming out with kits or something like that to make them look better. That's neat. Both the Avernic Catalyst and Avernic Treads will be tradable. So it's like an Avernic Defender. It's literally named the same thing too. It's a thing you're attaching that combines your boots into one to make them super good. How good are they? You've got peg stats, eternal boot stats, prim stats, plus chunky defense, plus range strength. Range strength is something pegs lack. You're getting all the boots combined and you're getting massive defense. These are insane. These are ridiculous. That one range strength is enough with full max gear to be getting a pipe max hit, which is massive. Anytime you get a pipe max hit, that's like a 4% DPS increase with pipe. Always insane. But also just the fact you've got a tribrid boot that's disgusting for all styles with a lot of defense, like, holy, these are going to be insane. They are so strong. And not to mention, it's not just defense in melee, it's defense in everything. It's mage defense, range defense. These are tanky. These are tanky as well. So even things like Inferno, where you're really focusing on like defense and prayer, this is also going to buff these guys' value quite a bit, surely. I'm sure pegs are going to go up because they're just so useless. I'm okay with them keeping old boots valuable. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be mad that they're doing upgradescape, but I think it works here. Otherwise, those boots would just be completely worthless over time, so I'm okay with this. They do take a lot of stats to wear, and to combine, it's 80 smithing. So these are going to be not easy to make. It gives me kind of Ward vibes, but I think 80 smithing is reasonable. Ward is stupid. But these seem totally fine. I'm okay with this. Okay, next reward is the Eldritch Veil. Are you ready to upgrade your best in slot magic cape? The demonic mark is a consumable item that can be used on any of the imbued god capes to produce the Eldritch Veil, a new best in slot cape for magic offense. Interesting to see it having a trade-off of negative prayer. We don't usually see that. So what exactly does this do? 5 extra mage, 1% magic damage. I mean, that's good. This is definitely an upgrade, and it's definitely going to be good, and it's going to have value. I'm a little concerned looking at this that they felt 1% mage damage was worthy of -2 prayer as a trade-off. That's kind of weird to me. This definitely feels like Shadow is holding back mage as a whole. Like, Shadow is going to get max hits from this. I don't know if anything else is. I don't think Sang is going to get a max hit, maybe Intelwa with Salt Boost. I think this is really just a thing for Shadow. It seems really clear that Shadow is producing balancing problems for them, and it seems really obvious with this that they're so scared to add 1% mage damage that it needs a trade-off. I don't know. I feel like 4% mage damage would feel better to me. I feel like as a whole, the only upgrade is if you have a Shadow. That's what it feels like looking at this. We'll keep reading. Well, the demonic mark will be tradable. The Eldritch Veil will be untradable. So again, a Vernic situation. I'm really happy to see how many of these items are tradable. I'm not seeing any quiver drops. There's nothing that's untradable that you're not getting value from. Everything here is money. That's really good to see. Plus, highly desirable, rare rewards are good for the economy, providing an incentive to keep enjoying challenging fights long after you've snagged the rewards for yourself. So what they're saying is, this boss encounter is not suited to a quiver, right? This boss encounter is not suited to a quiver. We want everything to be tradable, and everything should scale with you streaking the boss further and further and further, right? That's what they're saying. Whether they need to do something to Shadow long-term, I don't know. I feel like this should be 4% mage damage. I really do. And if that's a problem for Shadow, I think we need to look at that versus holding back mage as a whole. Not to mention the mage rebalance has really hindered mage as a whole as well. It's just spread out all that gear's damage and made it so you need more switches everywhere. Now they can't even give us more than 1% mage damage. It really feels like they're struggling with mage. It feels scattered. It feels really scattered. Okay, this one's a little questionable to me. Diabolical Aegis. The Diabolical Aegis is a new two-handed weapon designed to fill the Demon Bane crush gap. We're looking at 4 attack speed, double hit splats, and a passive effect which resets your attack delay if you land the killing blow on a demonic enemy. So you're looking at like Scurious, where you have 1 tick hitting those rats. It's going to be the same as that. You can hit immediately after doing it. Okay, interesting. I can't think of a lot of places where that comes into effect in current game, but I'm sure that Mocha is going to be having mobs that have low HP that we're finishing off, or something like that, because they specifically say it's going to work on Mocha. Let's keep reading. As well as the Demon Bane bonus, the Aegis comes with a new Demon Ward effect, which gives you 25% damage reduction against demons. That's really interesting. I think that's more useful than anything I'm hearing. Based on the stats, 75 strength, 4 tick attack rate, 95 crush, some pretty solid defense. And the passive effect of hitting twice, I don't know where that matters. It really feels like they're trying to make this a good finish weapon on low HP targets. I'm sure Mocha's gonna have something like this. That's the vibe this is giving off. It's really hard to calc Demon Bane. I wanted to check this versus Emberlight, but Emberlight has 13 strength bonus. The way Emberlight works is it just massively gives a bonus to your strength bonus. It just multiplies it by a ton. So it's really, really hard to calculate this versus that. I'm sure Gearscape is going to add this in hours. So I'll probably pin a comment if I have some calcs showing it's good at a bunch of places. I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like it doesn't slot into the game super, super well currently. Emberlight is freaking amazing at Tormented Demons. Emberlight is amazing at Sire. Emberlight is amazing at Serb, right? It's good at all of those. So now you got a thing that competes with that, kind of beats it out in a couple places, maybe doesn't. I don't know. This feels like kind of a very niche-y side grade kind of deal. I'm sure it's going to be very good at Mocha, and I'm sure it's going to have uses. I just don't know how good it is. We're going to have to wait on the calcs on that. Thrall upgrade. Oh boy. Oh, mama. Okay. Thrall upgrade? Okay. This enthralling reward takes the form of a consumable. Nice pun. Sick. Tradable resource drop that will boost your summoned thralls. You'll be able to store it in your ammo slot to augment your thralls with an additional effect that increases their overall DPS. When affected thralls despawn, their spirit will travel back through the air towards you in a straight line, dealing a small amount of damage to any enemies caught in their path. This reward adds a new dimension to combat and old school, rewarding higher APM and careful positioning. Okay, thrall upgrade sounds really cool. I love, first of all, that this is a consumable, tradable resource. So this is your Sunfire Shard. This is what the content needs to keep it profitable. It needs something that's constantly being sunk out of the game that people need, and people need this. You're going to use this everywhere. It's going to be very powerful, very worth using, and you're going to be using it constantly. You're going to be spending money on this, and it's going to be sinking money out of the game. This is going to be the main profit from here forever. I'm praying that Reddit doesn't bitch and moan that this has to have a permanent blessed Book of the Dead or something if you get enough of it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just, this is good. This is good. It needs something to keep this profitable long term. We've seen Sunfire Splinters go up and down all over the place. Sometimes Colosseum's profitable, sometimes it isn't. Just keep it consistent. It's okay that it's consumable. That's good. That's good. I think it needs this. Now, I have some issues. Why is this in the ammo slot? Why? We already know how annoying Quiver is with all of its weird bugs, weird issues. You have to have the cape equipped or you get that 5-tick delay. And what if you don't have a quiver? Can you use this if it's not in the ammo slot? Can it just go in the ammo slot? Like, what if you're shooting Zebak with a T-bow, right? And you want to summon a thrall. Now I have to unequip my arrows, equip this thrall buff, summon a thrall, equip my arrows, shoot the boss. It just sounds so clunky. Like, why is this going in the ammo slot? Even if you can use it from the inventory, like, why doesn't this just go into a Book of the Dead? Why don't you just charge your Book of the Dead with this to buff your thralls? I don't see why we have to make it now clunky. This seems so pointless. I really don't understand that. Hope they change that, because that just sounds... Even if you can use it from inventory, this just seems annoying. It seems really annoying. The one thing I was thinking that the only reason I can think of that they didn't do that is that they're planning to get rid of Book of the Dead at some point, in which case, just figure out some other solution. Make it go in a rune pouch, make it charge some other item we wear a lot. I don't give us an extra slot so we can put these in. I don't really care. Just don't make it go in the ammo slot. That sounds really annoying. Okay, the effect. Is the effect good? They boomerang back towards you. It does damage. How does that work? So it's like when it despawns, it does damage. So there was a message on Reddit, okay, that Goblin responded to. Somebody asked, does the thrall upgrade mean Master and Grandmaster CA havers are punished for having extended thralls? That was my thought too. What if you have Grandmaster thralls and after 2 minutes it despawns, you want it to despawn, right? So that's bad, right? You genuinely don't want to have combat achievements done, right? That seems weird. So replied to a tweet to a similar effect. Think we could consider instead having the effect occur at fixed intervals so that no CAs get 2 returns. Master CAs get 3, GM gets 4. Though I don't know if that enters into annoying territory versus just bumping the damage number up for a longer duration. Potentially scaling it a little more, so double duration, but 2.5 times damage or something. So that's a little confusing what he said. Basically, he's saying make it do its thing every 30 seconds, right? It boomerangs back at you every 30 seconds. Or it does bonus damage when it when it comes to you, but it would take longer for that to happen. I would prefer they do it every 30 seconds because there's a lot of things that don't last 2 minutes, right? Your thrall's not even lasting that long in a lot of bosses. Specifically thinking like top bosses in 5-man or something, where it's not doing something, right? So making it just a thing that occurs time-based and unrelated to thrall despawn. Also, like spamming, resummoning thralls, if that worked, you're just spamming prayer points on a 10-second cooldown to get damage. That sounds really awful. I'm sure they know that. I'm sure that they understand that that would be really bad and annoying. So I'm sure that's not how it's gonna work. Here's another tweet from Goblin, another response. Could potentially just have the effect occur at a fixed interval, tone it down so you get 2 chances with no CAs, 3 with Master, 4 with GM, similar to what he was saying on Reddit, meaning the return every 30 seconds. If that sounds like it might be a neat workaround, then I'm happy to pass it on to the team. Alternative here, I guess, is just longer duration means bigger damage. Really similar to what he said, basically reworded. Here's my thoughts, okay? And as soon as you think about this, it starts to break down really hard. It sounds cool. Put your thrall in the right spot, it comes back to you, you get damage. You play better, you get damage. Oh, that sounds sick. Okay. Then you consider, how do you realistically make this happen? Let's think about this. What happens if you can't make a line from the thrall through the boss to you? Okay, I'm thinking Ulm. I'm thinking P3 Warden. I'm thinking Duke. Does the thrall never hit those? That sounds lame. I think it should hit those. What happens if the boss roams? What if Vasa walks away from your thrall? What if Bloat walks away and goes down in the corner when your thrall's like walks up to it and it's being stupid? Like, you know, you've got to. This sounds like there's a lot of cases where you're getting no benefit out of this and it's not doing anything. There's also a lot of bosses where I think it's just always going to give you damage. What if you put a melee thrall under Baba? What if you put a melee thrall under Zarpus? Is it just going to hit them like always? Does it have to go through the southwest tile? Please don't make it have to go through the southwest tile. Are you joking? No, it can't be that. So a chunk of the bosses, it just always works. A chunk of the bosses, it won't work randomly. There's also the fact that thralls just spawn on a random tile around you. You can't influence where they go. If you want to put a thrall in a very specific location, you can stand roughly where it's going to go, but there's no guarantee it's going on a tile. If they want to do something like this, they're going to have to allow us to place thralls on a specific tile or something. Honestly, I think this isn't going to work. I can't see this working in general for PVM. It sounds really, really annoying. This feels like very similar to Ruinous Powers. Prayers, where it's like, I was thinking of Gambit, where Gambit was, if you don't remember, Gambit was an overhead prayer that gave 8% accuracy. That's what it did. So you'd have to drop your protection prayer. The problem with Gambit is it didn't make sense in a lot of cases because some bosses are really, really tanky. And that matters a ton, so you have to use it. Some bosses you drain to 0 defense. I'm thinking Maiden. Then it does nothing. It does almost nothing. Some bosses don't hit you, like Bloat, where they go down, and it's just free damage. Right? This feels very similar to that, where it's not like, I feel like a lot of the balancing they do is based on the type of weapon you're using, right? A weapon does this thing. Okay, but you can't use it here because this boss has this defense and it doesn't work. This boss doesn't have the mage level for T-bow. This boss has big slash defense. You don't want to hit it with a scythe. You know, that kind of thing? So just making it where it's like, this is a thing where you get more damage if you do this. I can't always use that and it doesn't really make sense. If they want to make it a thing where it's increasing APM, okay? Something where you're doing something to get a benefit. I think it needs to be a really small benefit. My thought was, if you do something right, you refund the prayer cost of summoning it, right? And obviously that's not going to be good enough to be spamming these everywhere, so they'd have to give it a damage upgrade. So my thought was maybe get rid of it hitting zeros, right? It hits 1 to 3 now. That'd be really nice for Ulm, right? Now you can't miss anymore. There's no more splashing. It just always hits. You never get those rare turns to middle. When you're doing solo method at Ulm, it's always going to turn it. That'd be nice. Big DPS upgrade as well. That would work probably. Obviously, I think they don't want to just give it flat DPS. I think it's really hard not to though, because how do you give it an APM mechanic when the bosses in this game have so many different factors, different contexts? Thralls can't reach a lot of bosses. Thralls can reach a lot of bosses. Thralls can't hit a lot of bosses based on their type. There's just a lot of things going on. I think they could lean into maybe changing different thrall types to do different things. I saw somebody mention giving like the ranged thrall burn, giving the melee thrall a chance at an extra hit, something like that. I could see that maybe, but also it's annoying that you have to use specific thralls in a lot of places. You have to use a melee thrall at Tecton. You have to use a mage thrall at Vasa. You have to use a skeleton for Ulm Head. This goes on and on. There's like 10 bosses in the game where you have to use a specific thrall. So that could be annoying. There's just a lot of issues. Thralls affect everything in the game. So if you give it a thing that's like, if you do this, you get a bonus, I don't know. It doesn't hold up, I don't think. I don't see this working. I think giving a flat DPS upgrade is boring, but I feel like that's a better approach. I'm sure we're going to see lots of good ideas and feedback. Come up with things. Come up with things, help them, because I think this isn't going to work. Maybe somebody has an idea that I haven't thought of that will work. I love the concept of a thrall upgrade. I love the concept of a thrall upgrade. I love that it's consumable. I think they need to work on the effect, though. I think that needs some work. Okay, that's it for the rewards. That's what we have. Honestly, they're not perfect. They're not perfect. I think a lot of things need some work, but compared to Colosseum, I'm pretty happy. Colosseum had an insane, untradeable unlock, and it's just a bunch of cruddy items. Just Sunfire armor, Echo boots that recoil for 1 damage. Whoa. It didn't really fit the content. I like this a lot. I like this a lot. I feel like they were really scared to give upgrades. This feels like they're a lot less scared now. I like that. I like that. I like what we're seeing here. The items seem very solid. They seem reasonable for the content. Maybe not the Demon Bane. I don't know what you would swap it for, but for the most part, they seem to make sense, and I like them. So definitely solid. Definitely solid. Okay, last thing. Besides Mocha, they're also adding a Slayer dungeon, and it adds this like multiple this gives me like Cow Fight vibes, where it's like it has a bunch of different like variants and tiers that you can go fight. And they say that different Slayer level, they say that they have hefty HP, low to mid defense, so kind of like crabs. They have a lot of health, low defense, and then some kind of elemental weakness. They seem like very basic. I'm assuming these are going to be large, and we're not going to be doing things like Venator Bow. I kind of doubt these are going to be good XP, hopefully cannonable. We'll see. We'll see. I like having more enemies with more HP, less defense. I like that. That's definitely good. And they dropped this thing, which is interesting. Definitely interesting. Antler Guard. This is a shield that has in all styles, so it's a Tribrid shield. It's got 5 melee strength, which I think is the same as a DFS. It's decent. 2 range strength. Also interesting, specifically for Iron Men, because it's really hard to get those range strength offhands. Obviously, mains can just buy a buckler, but this is really hard to get your hands on an iron. There's very few ways to go get those. And then massive negative defense. Very interesting. This is a very unique item. My first thoughts, I don't think this is going to be used anywhere. I don't think I'm going to be using this anywhere on my main. I could see this being solid in hand with a Warhammer when you don't need a defender. Maybe you have a 2-handed melee weapon, just bringing it for the accuracy on that Warhammer spec, kind of nice, and then it doubles as a ranged offhand. That's kind of cool. I could see this working really well where that defense doesn't matter. Places like Zabak when you're using like a rune crossbow, something like that. This definitely has uses. I'm not seeing this is not gonna get used in Inferno. Obviously, that negative defense is awful, but it's definitely gonna have some uses. I think this is a good like mid-game addition. This makes a lot of sense as like a Slayer drop, and it definitely has uses. Okay, that's it for the blog. Some really promising stuff, some stuff to work on. Very promising, very, very promising. I'd really like to see a release date on this. I know in the roadmap it's slated for spring, so this will be coming out after the Giants Boss. Giants Boss is the first PVM update they're gonna do of the year, and then this one. So for sure that's going to happen. This is coming out with the whole Varlamore expansion. So this is going to come out with the fletching update that they talked about earlier. Interesting. Love to see some more details. I'd love to see a glimpse of the mechanics. They'll probably hide it mostly, but I'd like to see some cool stuff. I'd love some looks at... They didn't show any of the designs of any of the items or anything. I'd love to see what they're looking like. They have the 3 colors on the boots. That sounds interesting. I'd like to see the designs and stuff. I just want to get my hands on this. I'm going to be honest, this is the most hyped I've been for an update maybe ever. Maybe ever in the history of the game. I've been begging for this update. This is Gnomonkey's update. This is Gnomonkey's update. This is what I've been begging for forever. So I'm really hoping they nail it. There's a lot of ways they could mess it up. I'm staying hopeful, though. I'm staying very hopeful. That's all she wrote. Definitely, I want to hear some thoughts from you guys, like what you think they could do for like the thrall change. I really don't think that's going to work as they stated it, but maybe somebody has some ideas. I'm sure somebody in the community can come up with something that adds APM to thralls while being like reasonable at every boss. There's definitely something. I'm not smart enough to think of it. So let me know what you're thinking down below. Leave a like if you liked it and or subscribe. Thank you so much. I love you.